Okay, so welcome to this mindful yoga class. We'll start today with a sitting practice just to help us arrive and settle. Just checking that Wendy's okay. Yeah, okay. So yeah, a sitting practice to help us arrive and settle. We're not going to use any mudras today. We're just going to let the hands rest on the lap. But even with this movement or resting of the hands down, then maybe you can draw the front of the body up and roll, or just kind of move the shoulders back and down. So it's not a big movement, but just a kind of hands go down, torso grows up, shoulders release back. And then you might like to close the eyes or have a soft lowered gaze. And we'll let the attention drift down the body through each part one by one. So starting with your awareness in the head and face. Just checking how this part of your body feels. Maybe just feeling a breath flowing in and out of this area. Letting there be softness in the eyeballs and the eye sockets, the jaw and the tongue in the mouth. Particularly as you breathe out, just a kind of loosening and softening in and around the head and face. And then dropping the awareness down to the shoulder girdle, shoulder blades and the collarbone at the front. How does this part of your body feel? Breathing in and out of this place. And as we breathe in and out of these places one by one, it's like the breath is just able to give the muscles and the joints and the organs a little massage. So kind of giving yourself an internal massage with your breath in each area of the body. And then dropping down to the mid-back, the solar plexus, the ribs, the middle of the torso. How does this part of the body feel? What's it like to breathe, invite the breath in and out of here? And then dropping down a bit lower to the lower abdomen, the tail, the lower back. Checking in, breathing in and out here, but particularly breathing through to the back body. Inviting it to soften, inviting it to open. And then shifting the awareness down into the pelvis and the sit bones, the contact with whatever you're sitting on. All the intestines that are held in the bowl of the pelvis. Breathing in space, breathing out softness. And then shifting down a little bit lower to the upper part of the legs, the thighs, the buttocks, the thighs, the knees. What can we notice here? Letting the breath flow in and downwards now to fill and empty from this part. And that might be just an imagined thing, or you might kind of get a felt sense of that breath moving into these different areas. And then moving down to the lower legs, the knees, the the calves, the shins, the ankles. Breath coming and going from here. And then dropping down all the way into the feet. And spending a few moments just exploring and settling into the feet. Feet being the furthest part of our body away from the head, so a real sense of dropping out of the head and all the way down into the feet. And maybe even beyond, down into the ground, sense of the feet rooting down. Soles of the feet resting on the ground, or the sides of the feet if you're cross-legged. Just being curious about these feet, the temperature of them, the weight of them as they rest. Any sensations at the layer of skin, that level, or maybe more from the inside of the feet. Perhaps there's a very faint little tingling or buzzing or pulsing in and around the feet. And then maybe using our imagination or maybe the felt sense, we can follow a breath as it flows in and all the way down to the feet. Travels back out from the feet as we breathe out. And then from this kind of rooted place in the feet, we can then maybe open up to a sense of the whole body sitting here. And checking in a bit more holistically. How does this body doing right now? Physically. Checked in as we move down physically, but also checking in with the thinking mind. What's the weather pattern there? These thoughts that come and go. But what's the kind of quality and texture of them right now? Sometimes thick, strong, shouty. Other times a bit softer, quieter, more whispery. So how's that playing out for us right now? And equally the emotional tone that might be here, sometimes accompanying some of those thoughts comes an emotion. Just a moment to notice the quality and texture of those and how and where they play out in the body. We're in these very strange times, not only of the pandemic, but then also with the passing away of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement that we've seen across the globe. So there may well be emotions that we perhaps haven't really noticed or we've pushed away, equally around friends and family that might be suffering, our own suffering. I personally have found it more tricky since the lockdown has eased. I've really had to pause and check in with what feels right for me. And just a moment to notice that, to be with that. And then we're going to use the three-part breathing. So bringing our awareness and maybe our hands down to the lower belly, almost below the belly button. And just taking a few deep breaths into this place, filling up at the front and the back. Just really breathing in and following that breath deep down as far as you can in the torso. And then shifting the awareness to the solar plexus, the middle of the torso. Your hands might like to move there, front and back, and breathing into that area. And then shifting again to the chest, the collarbones. Hands might like to move up there, and just focusing the breath in and out of here, right through to the space between the shoulder blades at the back. And then just to finish off, you might like to leave one hand up here and bring one hand all the way back down to the belly. So we're opening up to focus on the whole torso, all three of those points. And just for a couple breaths, breathing in and filling them all, emptying from them all. Maybe in a sort of wave-like movement, just see how it is for you as you breathe in, lower, middle and upper, and release. And then letting the hands come to rest again on the thighs, checking with the posture upright and open. As we have one final check-in with the whole body, sitting here, how's it doing now? And given that this is how it is, what is it that's needed? What does this body, mind, heart space need to nourish ourselves? Be supportive in these really difficult and trying times. Where things aren't always staying the same, and a lot of unknown, and we might kind of have waves of different things flowing in and out. So what is it that would be helpful now? And then just when you're ready, you might like to take a deeper breath in and a deeper breath out. Whole body breath. As we then gently open the eyes or raise the gaze. I'm just going to do a couple of exercises sitting, and then I'll check in. So to start off with the head rotations that we've done over the last few weeks. So taking your head over to the right hand side and then drawing the circle with your nose. So as you breathe in, the nose and the face goes up and over. As you breathe out, it can drop down and around. Just easing into the vertebra of the neck, not pushing or forcing, as if the breath is somehow moving this part of your body. And then we're going to go the other way, so maybe have the head over to the left, and then as you breathe in this time you go up and over the other way, down and around. And then when you finish that next cycle, let the head come back to the centre. I'm going to interlock the fingers and bring them behind the head, elbows out to the side. We did this one last week, and letting the elbows come in around the head and the head drops down to start off with. And you can just kind of feel the weight of the head lengthening the back of the neck. Dropping the head down as far as it will go, chin nestling into the front of the body. And then next time you notice a breath coming in, letting that in-breath move the head up and the elbows out. And then just as you breathe out, releasing. So making this fluid, following the breath as best you can. It's up to you how far the head goes up. You might just want to look forwards, or you might want to tilt a little bit up towards the ceiling. But again, just feeling into what feels right for your upper back and the kind of strength of the lower back. What can be helpful as you lift the head up is if you engage a little bit of the front of the spine here in the belly, so a sense of kind of drawing the belly in and up just a little bit to support the opening of the upper back and not put any pressure on the lower back. Maybe one more of those. And then release, give the arms a little shake. And then we're going to do just a few rotations of the arms. So if you start with both hands on your knees or thighs, and we'll start with the right hand side. So we'll let this arm, the right arm, just hang beside the body, left hand staying on the knee. And we're going to start just with the shoulder rotation. So almost just the top of the arm in its socket. I'm rotating up and back and down. So one arm rotating around just at the shoulder. Might feel smooth, might feel a bit bumpy, can maybe even hear little clunks. And then we're going to let the elbow start to move around in a circle. It might be helpful to have the hand just resting on the shoulder, so the elbow can be a bit more of the leader. And then it's the wrist, so it's a kind of soft arm, bent arm. And then the whole hand. And you might kind of rotate, whether the palm is facing in or out as you go around. More of a stretch on that one. Do one more of those. Great, and then let that hand come and rest on the knee. Maybe just have a pause and a breath and a feel into that side, how that feels compared to the other. And then we'll let the left arm drop down. I'd like to give it just a nice loose wiggle, and then starting by isolating the top of the arm, first into that socket, the kind of ball and sockets, and going up and over and down. And then if we bring the hand onto the top of the shoulder and let the elbow circle around, a slightly different movement into that socket. And then the wrist, just a loose arm. And then the fingers. Coming up close towards the ear and opening as wide as you can, but again, not going beyond your own limit. Great. Come back to the knee, and then we'll come back to this right arm again, give it a shake. We're going to go the other way round. So now we're coming forwards and down. And then with the elbow in the opposite direction. And then that loose wrist. I find it more tricky coming this way round. I like we're doing front crawl rather than back crawl for anyone who's a swimmer out there. And then the arm, whole arm into the fingers. Great. Let that come and rest on the knee. Back to the left-hand side. Give it a little shake. Start with this forwards movement in the shoulder. Keep breathing. Notice if you're holding your breath, let the breath flow. And then the hand comes onto the shoulder. Elbow circles forwards and down. And then the soft arm, front crawl. And then a bit of a longer arm right into the fingers. Great. And come back to a pause, and I'll just pause there and check in.